Good afternoon, panelists. Dr. Nagarajan, Atit Mehta, Prabveer, Suraj, Jaikishan, and Rajiv. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Very
Hi.
good afternoon.
Good
Very,
afternoon,
very
sir.
good afternoon to the entire Indian television team and the entire audience logged in for this brand fest. It's my privilege to be hosting this session with such a distinguished panel. The power of television in times of disruption. Very interesting. We've seen some very unprecedented disruption over the past 19, 20 months, something that I don't think we have ever imagined. While we have all adapted our lives around it in our own way, things are still in a flux and evolving as we speak. After a brief period of complete disruption, brands have also very quickly adapted themselves to come out on top. The TV medium also has very nicely adapted, likewise, and emerged very strong, much stronger, I would say. And let's dive straight into this conversation. While we are aware that these are very tough times, consumer engagement on TV has also seen a large surge and also changed. What is the impact of this disruption on your sector specifically? I would like to ask Suraj and Prabveer.
Yeah.
Suraj, you would like to come in?
Yeah, I'll come in, Dave. Thanks. Last 2 years have been really unprecedented, at least for the fashion category. And as most of you would be aware, that most of our stores, almost 95% of our network was not operational. This disruption was really, really tough for retail players. And two, three broad shifts evolved. One, fashion suddenly was not the priority of consumers because protection became the priority. Second, safety gear suddenly came up as a top priority because consumers were looking for safety as one go-to thing post disruption. So that was the second big lever. And another thing that came up is a lot of brand building activities were happening during COVID because consumers were flocking to brands that they trust during this period. So that was the effect of how how the COVID disruption affected the fashion category per se.
Any light you want to throw on how the consumer preferences evolved during these times, Suraj?
See, consumer preferences primarily, as I said, they moved more towards products which would assure them for safety, like
Right.
protective gears, masks. That suddenly
Absolutely.
that was new for a fashion category. We were never into masks or protective gears, and we started that post-COVID. And also another thing that came out was assurance to a consumer about safety became very important. And here I would highlight the role that TV played. In fact, in most of our regional markets, TV was a go-to medium to at least educate that our stores after the first lockdown was over. The TV was a go-to medium to educate the people that yes, now you can come back to our stores or stores are open. So that
Very nice.
that was one gateway to tell the consumer at large that things are going to be better. So from that sense, regional played a very strong role for us to get the confidence slowly back into the category.
Sure. Thank you. Doctor, I have a question for you. I mean, these have been very times of extremely immense stress for the healthcare sector. How has your organization been impacted considering the consumer's expectations?
Um, we have been actually facing this demand and supply over a long period of time, especially during these COVID times. The requirement for beds have gone up. So the proportion to the beds, what we had of around 1,500 beds, we are now looking at more than 2,200 beds, with
Wow.
about we had an ICU strength of around 45 to 50, which we have moved up to around 550. And at the time when the requirement is high, we are still not able to actually match up to the expectation of the public. And that is one which we are still doing it on the move. And number two, as Suraj was talking about the fashion aspect of this mask and sanitizer coming into play. Savita is actually indigenously into more than 15 to 16 sectors. So what we were able to do is that with the pharmacy college, we were able to produce the sanitizers and even supply it to the other hospitals. And face foods and face masks we have indigenously started producing, so that we are self-sufficient and we are able to cater to the part of the Chennai segment as well as the Sri Perambuttur Kanchipuram segment. So that is one which we are still fighting out, the demand and supply. Let's hope for the best that the Omicron doesn't actually put us more into the demand and supply mode as we go up.
Even I wish you the very best, Doctor.
Thank you.
Atit, I have a question for you. Uh, EdTech obviously has seen disruptions, and there have been slivers of, lots of opportunities as well in these tough times. So, can you throw some light on how this disruption has, impacted your business, and then how you have tweaked your marketing plans and harnessed the power of television?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. So, see, the good part is, and nobody wanted it to happen that way, but during the core period of lockdown, that 14, 15 months, our top of the funnel grew very beautifully on two counts. Schools were shut, parents were anxious, parents were worried about learning loss. So, to continue learning, they had to come to online. So, that was part one. Part two, which was a business decision, we converted all our products completely free of charge. So that gave us the top of the funnel growth. And that was the big one disruption which happened as far the business is concerned. And from a media and a television point of view, it was very important and pertinent to let the world know that irrespective of whatever is happening, the organization is there behind you to ensure there is no learning loss for your kids. And that was done through massive advertising. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised that one of the categories which increased their spends during the core of lockdown was the edtech. And it's not only about my organization, but
Very
multiple
much.
edtech players. All of them started doing so because it was very apparent that this is the time to ensure that the education is not becoming a sort of a worry for parents. They were any which was worried about their jobs, about their health, and everything else which was going around us. So in a way, both the disruption in terms of making the the premium content completely free of cost for a good 4-5 months, as well as putting the dollar behind the consumer, whether it was television, whether it was digital, whether it was print, certainly helped the edtech industry. And from a TV perspective, it was very clear, very apparent that all said and done, and whatever I might be saying sounds cliche, it's still a single TV household. People were at home. How much any which ways you are spending good 7-8 hours on multiple video calls, and then you're not going to spend so much of time watching content. So TV automatically became a natural choice. So it was very clear, very simple approach in terms of go behind it and ensure that whichever medium you are backing, and which was television, you go all out on it.
Thank you, Atit. Rajiv, I have a question for you. For your industry or for your sector, this has been a mixed bag of opportunities as well as disruption. How
Yeah.
have you, tweaked your marketing plans and, your media plans to come out on top of this disruption?
So hi everyone. I think first of all, what I would say is that it's been a quite a topsy-turvy journey ever since last year. When the disruption happened, and then the telecast of original programming stopped, and audiences moved from one genre to another. So those things are happening, and as a company, first of all, we did not cut back on advertising. Like most of the industries, we did not cut back on advertising. We continued to advertise. What we did, however, was we shifted our spends from say one genre to another. So we moved a lot of monies to the news genre. News genre became very important. A lot of people were consuming news. News consumption had gone up significantly, and so that happened. Then then the GCs came back say around August last year, and then we went back to GC, and we continued to spend what is behind GC. But having said that, I mean, television has been all along very important medium for us. It's not that so it did not lose its steam along the way. It continued to give you good numbers. People continued to watch because in the restricted environment there was no other option but to watch TV, and I think TV consumption went up. and that has continued. And once the first phase of lockdown ended last year, we saw a separate set of number one channels. Like for example, in Maharashtra market, you suddenly saw that Star Prava has become number one, and West Bengal you saw that Z Bangla has become number one. Other markets were not affected so much. In South, for example, Star Vijay became number one. So similarly, I mean, these kind of changes we once saw in across the markets after the disruption, which was intra-industry changes, not so much outside the industry, but that keeps happening. As soon as you give a break to people, we'll come back and start experimenting with something new. So audiences shifted their kind of programming they wanted to watch, and so did our strategy evolved over the period of since last year. The last 18-19 months has been undergoing a change, so as to say.
Sure, thank you. Jackishan, the same question for you. I mean, have your marketing plans and media plans evolved over these 19-20 months? How have they changed? I mean, what has been the impact that you felt because of which you had to change your marketing plans and your media plans? Especially, I mean, with a specific perspective to TV?
So, see, they basically, as you rightly said, it was like a mixed bag situation overall. Technically, none of us were prepared. So, the first phase of lockdown and the wave of COVID, everybody was just experiencing something different. Whether it was availability of essential goods, people stacking up products at their homes, and the fight for sanitizers. Technically, everybody you knew who had manufacturing facility was getting in terms of getting sanitizers out in the market. Just as Rajiv also shared, we did not cut down on our media spends. There was a shift in genres. So even we were focusing on news as a category. Post August again, we also kind of dabbled into digital quite a bit. Did certain different type of activities with influencers, bloggers for the outreach. See, if you look at FMCG overall, one thing is you cannot do without TV, because you need that reach and that frequency and that eyeballs kind of coming in. Coming to a situation in the last 8-9 months, technically the second wave period, if I put in, that journey has been a bit difficult, because at one end you have had a situation of increasing raw material prices and fuel prices. The entire significant amount of categories operate around that magic price point of rupees 10. And
Right.
the challenge is that with increasing raw material and fuel prices, that rupee 10 offering started becoming a big challenge for us in terms of maintaining either the weight or the grammage of that product. And
Sure.
toilets of perspective, it's almost 70% of the market. And if you kind of want to re-index back your costs and operate at that, you will have to either cut down on the grammage of this of the product, or you kind of go on a price escalation. So that maths was sitting somewhere at 2x. So you can't afford to mess around with 70% of your market. But at the same time, you need to kind of also be wary of how the people were absorbing either job cuts or salary cuts. The second wave, nobody was prepared for. Disposable incomes were becoming more tighter. So somewhere you had to kind of balance it. You have to keep communicating, because while people were kind of moving towards health products and other things, those expenses had gone up. So you still need to keep continuing that communication to drive them back to the regular brands that they consume on a routine basis. So yeah, television kind of continues, albeit at a slightly lower level than what we did year before. So those are the tweaks that we have done in our media mixes right now.
Fantastic. Doctor, I mean, for the healthcare sector, obviously the marketing communication needs are quite different from, say, some sectors like FMCG, EdTech, etc. So, how have your schemes evolved? I mean, marketing communications evolved during these times, Doctor?
Dave, can I step in for a second?
Yeah,
Atit
Anil.
will be leaving by 3 o'clock. So if you'd like, you can finish with Atit, then go on to Doctor.
Oh, Atit has to leave?
Yeah, he's sent a message.
Okay, fantastic. Okay.
Yeah,
So-
sorry, Doctor. Let Atit.
No issues, no issues.
Okay. Atit, specific with respect to your sector, have you seen any evolving mix change in the demand, urban-rural mix change? Has
No,
the demand between urban and rural changed for you?
no, so even before the pandemic lockdown started, we had a very, very healthy split between urban and rural. And over here, rural is not the typical rural
Yeah,
defined
yeah.
by BACO IRS, but something which is tier 3, tier 4 sort of a thing. And with the lockdown, the percentage of urban contribution came down, rural went up, and that's tier 2 and tier 3. Because the primary reason, and we were also equally perplexed and confused why this is happening, why so much of action is happening in the tier 2, tier 3 markets. And what we realized is that schools infrastructure and the school ecosystem is very, very good in the top 15, top 20 cities of the country. They were starting doing online classes. Students had their own mobiles or their own laptops, desktop. So 4-5 hours of education was happening. Schools were equipped, families were equipped. But as you go down the pop strata, especially in terms of geographic as well as demographic, what is happening is while parents have the equipment, they can buy a new second-hand laptop or a mobile, but the schools were not geared up. They didn't have the infrastructure. The teachers were not trained. They didn't have the connectivity to do an online session from their homes or from schools. And this led to a significant shift of the percentage contribution of as we defined urban and rural. Over here it is tier 1, tier 2 versus everything else. So yeah, this saw a significant shift, and we are glad that now it's now pan India. It's everybody has tasted the impact of online. People have tried, so we've got the trials, we have got the people to use us, they have experienced us, and that is helping today in terms of converting those early users, free users into paid premium subscribers.
Very nice. Interesting. I'll jump to the last question which I had planned for the session, Atit. I mean, since you have to leave, before I come back to our original questions, during these times we have seen a lot of brands using certain enhanced brand messaging opportunities like branded content, native integrations, sponsorships, etc. Have you, can you share some examples of how you have used some of these opportunities on television? If you have.
Yeah, so no, we did a dime a dozen things, and we fired all cylinders, not only on television, but television led a lot of stuff, but it was across the board, whether it was digital, it was print. We ran a lot of content integration with print, apart from running content and everything else one does on digital through influencers, bloggers, and branded content. But yeah, the biggest of the initiatives which has happened over the last 14-15 months during the lockdown, somewhere we had our presence felt. So as I said earlier, that it was very clear that we will be not cutting down budgets, and identified 2 or 3 mediums, and we went all out behind it, TV being the lead. So yeah, we did multiple stuff, both at a national level as well at a regional level, lot of things on news, lot of things on kids, and certainly the regular pieces on GC and sports.
Fantastic. Thank you, Atit.
Apologies,
Since you have to leave, you have a great day.
Yes, yeah, sorry, but I just got an exigency right now, which was unplanned. So sorry, I need to leave. But
absolutely no problem. You have a great day.
Pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Doctor, coming back to the question, I mean, communication always has been a challenge for the healthcare sector. How have your marketing communications evolved during these tough times, Doctor?
Per se, we kind of try to play it very subtle, as you all know very well. Because healthcare, I cannot be on the face of the consumer all the time. So what we try to do is, we have the academic sector. As far as Savita is concerned, we have more than 18 to 19 brands as we go along. So what we kind of try and do is, we kind of try push more of the academics per se, especially in the joining months, especially of the admission level. So what has happened now, because of this COVID and the need changes and everything, we have kind of postponed all those things over a period of time. And number 2 is that brands, when we start marketing, brands, I would say, are specialties. When I'm talking about hospitals, we talk about specialties here. So especially mental health was one which we were concentrating very much. Psychological needs of the people went up very high because all the people were confined to the setups, and kind of they were more alone, I would say, rather than being able to see the other person face to face or going into the office. So all of these psychological changes we could see, where we were sitting and analyzing the number of walk-ins coming into the hospitals. We could say that that was the kind of a thing which was going up, the mental health issues, obesity issues, non-exercise, cholesterol issues, those were trying to go up. So what we try and did was that we asked some of the doctors to actually go and do this, and we then got the models actually to do a lot of this feel good exercises. The nurses, we kind of did about 4 to 5 regional songs in different languages with all the doctors and the nurses put together, so that kind of people can feel that okay, everyone is in this and that they are all a part of it, and everyone is actually feeling that rut and they want to come out of it. So that was a kind of a feel good song which we themed on the basis for especially for Savita. So that was what we did during the time, tweaking our media plan in such a way that we could use the unfortunate scenario which was actually presented to us because of this COVID, especially the first and second waves.
So, did you use television for any of your communications, doctor?
Yeah, it was there. See, organically, because of COVID being a thing which is a healthcare issue, most of our doctors were doing it on a regular basis. So we were not doing it on the ad base, because we were already getting the kind of
Right.
exposure that we needed through our doctors. Because most of the time, our doctors were there doing the press conferences and webinars which were being telecast left, right, and center. So the academics gained more because of this unfortunate pandemic.
Sure, sure. Rajiv, let me come back to you. What we have noticed over these 20 months or so is that, there appears to be some kind of an accelerated trend towards regional content viewership. Have you noticed that, and have you been able to exploit this opportunity? Can you throw some light on that?
Yeah, in fact, if you look at regional markets, you can divide it into like 6 parts, 6+2, in fact, 6 markets being the 4 southern markets and 1 West Bengal and Maharashtra. And on top of that, if you add 2 more, which is one is Orissa and one is Bihar. So that's how we look at these 8 different regional markets, and which are isolatable. Except for Bihar, I think everything else is isolatable very, very clearly. And we saw that in terms of trends, the viewerships have been on the upswing, and the channels have been performing very, very well. There's been consolidation of viewership on a fewer programs and fewer channels as such. Unlike Hindi market, where the viewership is very, very fragmented, and the highest rated programs would get like about 2.5 or 3 ratings. The moment you go to regional markets, you get the same kind of program, or maybe a same program which has been reshot in that particular language, gives you a rating of about 8 or 10 or something like that. So one is consolidation and one is isolatability of the regional market. So one has seen that this has given a lot of confidence to companies like ours to create a very specific content for that market. So what we do is that as a company, we use a lot of local influencers, local micro influencers, nano influencers, and even the big celebrities like Nagarjuna and Samantha, etc. And they kind of work very well for us, for our brands, and that we've been using for the past couple of years in a big way. So how we got this confidence was because once we saw that there's a huge viewership which rests on these channels, and hence we should also custom make our ads in those languages and basically
Fantastic.
create a content for that language, in their language, using their influencers, etc. So that's something which we have. Our contribution has been for our own business, and learning has come from the rising viewership of the regional TV channels as such.
So you created these local, communications using local influencers. Did that work very well for you?
So this process is on, like for example, for Maharashtra, for Andhra Pradesh, for Tamil Nadu, for West Bengal, for all these markets, even for markets like Maharashtra, even Gujarat for that matter. We are using local, very very local talent and local celebrities,
Oh,
local
great.
stars, local movie stars, and right from say big celebrities to small micro nano influencers. In every possible way. Use hundreds and thousands of influencers in every month. So as to say. So that's been doing very well for us. That's given us very good return, I would say. And going forward, I think that's the way to go. I mean, if you talk to a person in Maharashtra in Marathi using his own star, I think it makes a lot of difference. Rather than telling them something else, in some other language, and which people don't understand there. Even though they understand that you can develop a rapport with that star. Like for example, if I take a North Indian star in say Tamil Nadu, it will get noticed. But if I use their own local celebrity, it will have much more impact. Like if I were to use Kamala Hassan for say Tamil Nadu, or if I were to use say Nagarjuna for Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, it'll do much better for me, right?
Sure. Jayesh, your views on how you have been able to leverage regional content, the shift towards regional content viewership?
See, again, we have also kind of tested waters with using local celebs as protagonists for vignettes and stuff. We have dabbled with content, like for example, we're currently partnering with MasterChef for South across 3 markets. Broadly speaking, so for example, being language isolated markets, as Rajiv also rightly put in, you need to kind of go with the local celebs or local flavor of that market. So again, supporting television along with digital in those markets is something that we have been doing technically.
Okay, thank you. Rajiv, I had asked this question to Atit earlier regarding the evolving demand mix change with specific respect to urban and rural markets, and a connected question, which is if your media mix has also changed with respect to free to air, pay TV, etc. Can you throw some share some light on that?
Yeah, so rural market has been very, very important for our business, and a significant chunk of our business comes out of rural markets, and that's our specialty. That's what we delve in. I mean, that's what our forte is. So we've been focusing on that. We've been going to like every year we go to more number of villages. We have one scheme which is on ground, which is called Dabar Yuddha scheme, in which we appoint a very micro level distributor who supplies in a very, very small geography. So those kind of things are done on the ground, and that's been done on support of things which we do. Like for example, there's one price point which has become very, very important in FMCG business. Is the 10 rupee price point. The 10 rupee price point, you sell toothpaste, you sell hair oils, you try to sell everything in that price range. Try to sell it that LUP price of 10 rupees. And for LUPs, what is most important is that free-to-air channels. Free-to-air channels work like magic for these smaller price points. And free-to-air channels do so well. I mean, they first of all, they come at a much, I would say, cheaper cost. It is very cost-effective because it goes to all the households, like in urban areas and rural areas both. And it's in a way, it's a tried and tested medium over the period, and so that's been one very important medium for us in addition to the regular advertising. Unfortunately, this free to air is only for say Hindi belt. You don't have a concept of free to air in say southern markets or other regional markets. So it's only limited to the Hindi belt, but it works wonders in markets like Hindi belt, all the cow belt markets actually.
Fantastic. Jai Kishan, I mean, Can you share some interesting examples with us of how you have used branded content, native integrations, sponsorships, etc. during these times?
Yeah, so in fact, thankfully, quite a bit of work that we have done has happened with your network itself. So just before the lockdown got announced, we actually were in talks of using Protagonist across all the languages in Hindi for communicating hand hygiene and sanitizing your hands. So that we kind of executed pretty well. The next activity that we did is ITC MasterChef, wherein we actually roped in the chefs from all the ITC hotels,
Right.
and they were actually cooking in their own kitchen. So not using the uh, high-end tools or stuff that normally they have in the kitchens at the hotels. So how does a home cook kind of get the recipes from them? Uh, there were certain other integrations that we had done with some content on OTT platforms. So, for example, Inside It season 2 had come in just before, and right now Inside It season 3 is in. So integrations have happened in that as well. And
Right.
the season 3 was shot around just when the unlock had started happening. Uh, with regards to native integrations and associations, we have kind of done work with Whisper Media to kind of introduce our brands onto the content while it's happening. So these are some of the things that we have been doing on and off during the last 18-19 months as well.
Sure. Thanks, Jesh. Suraj, you have any examples to share with us of any communications, interesting communications that you have, activity that you have done during these times?
Yeah, Dave. So I would like to do it. I'd like to split into two parts, pre and post COVID. And I think fashion as a category, you would very strongly associate that it's very much dependent on imagery. Like all brands internationally, whether it is Van Heusen or Louis Philippe or Zara, have very strong imagery connect with the consumer. And basis that we have done a lot of integrations, like starting from your world television premieres on all channels to say a Kapil Sharma show integration to wardrobe sponsor in news TV channels,
Fabulous.
I mean your news channels, because that's where you get your edge being a fashion brand and the kind of movies that you associate, the kind of shows that you associate. So that's one integration, one kind of integrations that we do. Post COVID, during COVID, unfortunately, integrations have not been so high on TV, but there have been integrations on digital, primarily with reaching out to influencers, as Jai Kishan was mentioning. How do we reach out to influencers to show what you are wearing and how the category is good for you and what new categories we have launched. So during COVID, it's been primarily led by digital. Now the current phase, which is where we see brands coming back and there's some enthusiasm in the market. So there we are again planning to go back to TV again in a big way, because one firm belief, and I would like to quote what Anil said at the beginning of this meeting, is that one firm belief that the category or the fashion category or our company believes that the highest amount of brand building and trust building you could do, if there is any medium that will help you do that, it is TV. Okay, because imagine the things that we are surrounded with. Like when you want to buy a salt or when you want to buy a car, you don't go and search in Google which salt brand to buy or which four-door sedan I need to buy. There is a brand in your head, and that consideration of that brand is the best way to build that consideration is through TV. So we firmly believe in this, and now with the season slightly picking up, and hopefully if Omnicon is not a spoiler, we would be back into TV in a big way, starting from impact properties, integrations, news integrations, and so on and so forth.
Thanks, Suraj. That sounds very heartening, at least for me, being from TV. Jesh, I have one question for you. Uh, can you share with us some evolving consumer preference which has changed during these times? And, how have you addressed that change by tweaking your communications or your communication strategy?
See, one insight that we got, and again, this was kind of also supported with whatever data was coming in, is the basic shift from appointment viewing to watching content on their own screens. So, for example, people were consuming the same shows on Star Plus or Zio, Sony, but on the OTT platforms uh, at a convenient time rather than at, let's say, 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. or whatever. And
Right.
just to ensure that we do not miss out on reaching out to that TG, along with our TV activities, we actually started taking up all these OTT platforms as well to reach out to the same audiences. So, in fact, one key shift that happened internally was the percentage of spend on digital actually increased disproportionately during this last 18-19 months, and it
Okay.
continues to go that way. The second thing that we did is we realized that there are quite a few brands which technically were in the branded assistant model. So, for example, the premium skincare and premium fragrances, since malls were not functioning, and
Right.
even the independent outlets were kind of not functioning. And that's the only way people used to kind of come touch, because they want to touch and feel the brand or smell the fragrance before they pick it up.
Right.
So that we realized that for some amazing reason, the gaps in the from that trade were kind of getting offset by e-com for us. So we actually started going 100% digital with those brands, and it started kind of giving us results very quickly. So for somebody who's aware of Dermafic as a skincare brand or Essence Divas as a premium fragrance, and they were wondering where to pick it up from now, uh, e-com came in as a nice solution for us. So again, some shift started happening in terms of driving visibility on e-com as well. So that's the other shift that happened within digital itself. So rather than just going in for advertising, we also went in for driving visibility on the e-com platforms.
Fantastic. Dinal, how much time do we have?
You will have another 10 minutes, I think.
Okay, and Prabveer has not joined us, right?
Yeah,
Probably.
he had an exigency, Dave, a last minute exigency.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was still, I mean, I had some questions I was thinking
Dave,
of
there's
asking.
some lady called Priya from Blue Star who's on the call. So I don't know if we missed her or.
She's coming in the next session.
She's coming the next time.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay. I was confused. Sorry. Doctor,
Yeah.
any examples that you want to share with us on any specific communication tweaks that you have done lately?
Primarily, we kind of stick to the rural market per se more as far as the COVID is concerned, because you are talking about a particular a disease which is probably more prone in the rural area than we see in the urban area. So the kind of communication we kind of market onto the village leaders or the so-called councillors, the local MLAs who are available in the villages. As Mr. Raji was talking about having a rural sense, that is what we kind of try and do. We kind of try and have a tie-up with all those local leaders, bring them up for a one-to-one talk with all our doctors, because it's not possible to bring in all the population there into our hospital. So we kind of bring in those representatives to the doctor hospital, have a kind of a CMA with them, with all our specialties, primarily the doctors who are looking at the infective diseases, kind of take the questions from them and give the answer, and then bring about this interchange of information back to the crowd in the population in the local area. So that is the kind of a rural segment that we do. And as far as the TV is concerned, a lot of local channels are there which kind of take this up live and then promote it. They are primarily the channels which are run by the local cable wallahs, and they
Okay.
primarily run the local content. And this local content has a very big viewership. And especially when we take those village leaders who are the past and present, they have a direct connect with the population there, which means that we are taking the information direct to the consumer onto their doorstep. So we have something known as Sugam Gramam and Sugam Samugam.
Okay.
Sugam Samugam is which is connected with the society. So we kind of take in the churches and all the Muslims, mosques and everything. We kind of talk to them. Samugam, Gramam is something known as a village. So we kind of have two kind of prawns so that we can attach both those people and ensure that they are aware of what is happening in the ground reality about this COVID. And then we kind of did about 1.5 lakh of free RT-PCRs for all the locals down there. We took our nurses direct to the place and did the free RT-PCR screening for them at the place, which was very much welcomed.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Anil, you have any specific questions to the panel?
I do have some questions.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I'm lying down because my back is hurting a bit. Coming back again, so perspective on television going forward in terms of as a medium, as a communication medium, with the disruption, with the alleged disruption that people are saying that's happening today with smart TVs, with consumption individually. What do you all see that? Do you all see it continuing to retain its glamorous quotient, or in terms of your spends, or will it slowly start receding? Each one of you.
So Anil, I'll take that first. See, the importance of television for any category, or for say, I'll speak of fashion, it's can't be marred, it can't go down. So the importance of television has to remain. Your spends, if you were to ask us, we used to be 90% on television, 10% on other mediums. Going forward, see, television will definitely keep a biggest chunk, say around 75% will still go on television, and maybe the other mediums will shift to some of performance marketing and some of digital. But having said that, we are not still in a world where television will lose importance purely because of the lowest cost per reach. The medium still promises and will continue to promise. That's one, cost per reach. And second, I think there's a lot of prestige value associated with brands that are seen on TV, and lot of researchers have shown that agar TV pe aaya to it's a big brand, agar TV pe nahi aaya to it's a small brand, because that's the prestige value which is associated with brands. So these two primary reasons why I don't see TV going down, maybe 5-10% here and there, and digital might take something, but I don't see a situation where digital will be 80 and TV will be 20. So that flip, I think, is still a long way to come.
Rajiv and Jayakishan?
Yeah, so one very important thing, Anil, is that TV lends a lot of credibility to your communication. Like what people used to say about print long in the good old days, that whatever comes on print is you trusted more. I think that's what is happening to TV right now. TV lends a lot of credibility to your communication. It kind of legitimizes your brand. That whatever is there, like what the other gentleman said, that his eyes completely, yeah. So that Suraj said that so I completely agree with him, and that's what TV does to you. And still, in terms of numbers, there are no numbers to beat television right now. But what is also happening is that the TVs which are getting converted to smart TVs, and you are getting to use say connected TV homes as a top up to your TV plan and digital plan. So that's also opening up one opportunity to do targeting on television through programmatic. So that's very that's something which is very interesting now. And going forward, as more number of households become smart TV households, so that will become another opportunity to target people watching TV via programmatic. Those audiences, however, will be watching OTT or whatever, but so that becomes a good opportunity in addition to TV. But TV will remain. TV is not going to go away anywhere. Not too soon. It's not going to be 80-20 in favor of digital so soon. Although digital has become 26% in my estimates. Although they've said 35%, but I still feel that it's about 26% digital. It's going to take some time for digital to become a majority player. TV is still to rule, I would say.
Exactly. And Jayakishan, and then after Dr. Nagarajan, and stick your necks out and say, when do you think television will tilt further?
As far as the perspective I have is that we end up chasing eyeballs, and it doesn't make a difference whether eyeballs are coming in from television or OTT or digital or anywhere. If I have to communicate, I'll just kind of chase the audiences, as simple as that. Yeah, but having said that, I think this TV will kind of continue to be a part of our media mix for probably, my estimate is another 5 to 7 years for sure, to that quantum of 70 or 75% or thereabouts. But increasingly the spends on digital are will continue to kind of grow. That's my perspective.
Yeah, one more thing I wanted to add was that there'll be a lot of digital first brands as well in addition to that. So
Yeah, that's right.
there'll be brands which will never come to TV and straight away go to get launched. So that's what we also have done. We launched several brands which have been e-commerce first or say digital first brands, and they have not come on TV yet. And still
Rajiv, I've seen an interesting trend here. Lot of these, I mean, D2C brands which have sprung up, and very, very interesting, very good, nice brands. They have been digital first, but when the need for real scaling up happens, they have eventually, come to television. Whether it's Sugar or Nykaa or Purple, I mean, including, I mean, D2C brands as well as the
Absolutely, Dave,
marketplaces.
absolutely.
so this traffic is happening both ways. Like say that there are approximately 800 plus D2C brands available right now.
Absolutely. And this has accelerated recently.
Yeah, approximately $42 billion worth of money has been pumped into this in India, and is growing very well. But what's happening is that the brands which started with D2C, like the typical flag bearers of D2C, likes of Nykaa and stuff, they ultimately opened a omni-channel store, and they
Yes,
started
right.
on ground. And people who started with on ground stores are going to D2C route. So I think somewhere this whole ecosystem is going to merge somewhere, and ultimately, dhanda karna hai. So
Yeah,
Yes.
my perspective on this.
business.
Interestingly, one other trend that is coming up, and while it's kind of too nascent and a bit early in times, is live commerce. You are watching content and you actually have products that are kind of shown out there. You kind of buy from that window itself. So that's an interesting trend to kind of keep an eye on
Yeah,
and see.
interesting times we are living in.
Yeah, the other thing is a lot of the digital first brands are actually using, not brands, even platforms are using television. Whether you look at Mobile Premier League, whether you look at whatever, you look at the entire cryptocurrency exchanges which have come up, they used your platforms to actually grow. So television, that is primarily television to a large extent, and digital as the next leg that they use.
Absolutely. I mean, we see lots and lots of D2C brands coming to us now. I mean, especially because they want to scale up. I mean, they have plucked all the low hanging fruits, and now it's time for them to really scale up and grow even further. And that's where, they are in engagement with us for multiple discussions because they want to scale up.
Yeah,
That's
Dave,
where-
as I was saying, even Licious and Fresh to Home have all come onto television right now. They were the
Absolutely,
original
yes.
pioneers of D2C and all,
Yes.
but they've all come onto your platform.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So let me ask Soumitra whether we're out of time. Soumitra, are we out of time?
We just about have 2 to 3 minutes in case there are some more questions that needs to be
Okay,
addressed.
but I'll leave it to Dave to give his last words.
So
Encapsulating
all that I
everything.
just want to say is, I've been honored to have this distinguished panel. Thank you, Dr. Nagarajan, Atit, who is not here now, he's left. Suraj, very interesting thoughts you have shared with us. Thank you so much. Jai Kishan, always a pleasure to chat with you. Rajiv, the Rajiv Dubey, absolutely a pleasure chatting with you. So thanks audiences, thanks Team India Television. This was a real nice session that we had. Hope to, looking forward to attending many more sessions over the next few days. Thanks everyone. And I can see some of the new second session panelists also joined in. Hello everybody. Have a great day.